We analyzed over 2,000 financial services companies across the world. We found 400 companies, financial services companies, including Citibank, Goldman, and even the conventional players that either were involved in Islamic finance from an Islamic window perspective, or financial services companies that are fully dedicated to Islamic finance. Now, when we identified those 400 companies, we went through their legal documentation to actually find out who are the Sharia scholars serving those institutions. As you know, Sharia scholars are a vital part. You can't even start an Islamic finance-related business without Sharia scholars, because they ultimately determine whether your product, your solution, or your transaction is Sharia compliant or not. So we wanted to understand how powerful are these Sharia scholars as a third layer of governance within Islamic finance, on top of the governance systems that you all know from conventional finance, which are typically the executive and the non-executive directors. What did we find? By analyzing the legal documents, we identified over 500 Sharia scholars spread over 34 different countries. And here, the 5 dots, the red circles that you see, are the 5 most influential Sharia scholars who, on average, as we found out, had Sharia board memberships of at least 70 to 80 in different institutions that, to a certain extent, were actually competing with each other. So what you see now is the blue squares are all the institutions on whose boards they actually serve. It can be the Sharia board of an Islamic window, like Citibank, for example, or Citi Islamic, or it could be HSBC ANALYTIC, Islamic finance-related business. So these are real board memberships, and these people actually decide on Sharia compliancy. One of the phenomena that we were immediately faced with was there's a huge concentration among Sharia scholars. I mean, bear in mind that someone can have up to 90 or 100 board memberships at a time. The first question from a corporate governance perspective that pops up is, how is someone actually able to serve so many institutions at the same time? When you look at the top 20 scholars, based on their overall positions, the number 1 scholar was close to 100 board memberships across 24 countries across the world. And the number 2 scholar was very close with over 90 board memberships. And number 3 above 80. One of the jokes that we used to make after this graph was, imagine a day when these 3 top scholars are traveling on a plane to a certain location. And hopefully it will never happen, but imagine the impact that it would create if the plane would crash, wiping out the considerable assets of Sharia knowledge in Islamic finance, just based on the concentration of knowledge that we have found. So the top 20 scholars, based on their overall positions, made up about 750 board memberships out of over 1,500 across the world. The question now that comes up for a social network analyst, as I am, how do we actually define influence? Is it the number of board memberships? Because there's always a debate in corporate governance, how many board memberships a person should have, whether we should limit people who have multiple board memberships and so forth. Now, if you look at the number of financial services companies offering Islamic finance solutions, there are over 400 across the world, and the leading companies are the ones like Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, and on number 6 you will find the United Kingdom. So what's very important to see here is that Islamic finance is not just something that is relevant for Islamic countries, but it has already penetrated non-Islamic countries. And what's more important to know is, even if you look at the 57 members of the OIC across the world, the Muslim countries, Islamic finance is not the standard mode of finance in all those countries. Even in Malaysia, which is one of the leading countries across the world in Islamic finance, the stake of Islamic finance in the system as a whole is only 20%. So if you think of Muslim countries, they are predominantly still conventionally financed in almost 90-95% of the cases. So it's still at the beginning. And here, this is also true for Mediterranean countries. You hardly come across with Mediterranean countries in this chart. Now, let's come back to the discussion.